Welcome back, everybody. This is Suman, Akash, and Purval. Yet another concussion sub episode with yet another special guest in our repertoire today. Sarang Bhalerao. He was an engineer, and we will hear from him today as to how his journey started from being an engineer to a cricket producer for Star Sports India. So, without any further ado, why don't I turn over to Sarang for a quick introduction and a little bit of a background about how this all journey started from being an engineer to cricket producer. Thank you for being on the show, Sarang.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you, team. See, engineering, I graduated in 2009. IT sector was a big thing back then. So I got a job with Infosys. Um, I thought, chalo, life set hai. But after a couple of years, I realized that okay, there is much more in me than just being, an engineer sitting at a desk thinking about the game. So I knew I had to do something about it. So one thing, led to another. I did my diploma in journalism. So that I think was a turning point where I didn't really, focus too much on the course. I went out and wrote, say, a report of a test match that was in 1K day and things like that. I met the editors of newspapers. I asked them what one needs to do in order to be in the field. So I must thank everyone for being patient with me, and that's how my journey started. Actually, there is no straight answer to this, but too many trial and errors, and which led me. I got my path. I found my path rather. Yeah.
Thankfully for many of us, because you're an inspiring story for people who are actually passionate about the game and are not able to do something about it. So people like you are actually an inspiration for all of us. But there must be some kind of a trigger, in your life when you felt like, okay, let me move out of Infi and just jump into this particular field. There must be some kind of a trigger, some sporting event,
Yeah.
some kind of a trigger back in your mind.
So a couple of things. Firstly, when Sachin scored a double hundred, the first man to score a double hundred in Gwalior. At that time, I couldn't really watch that innings because I was in the middle of a lecture. There was a training course that was happening, and I was like, "What is happening? I'm not watching Sachin Tendulkar. I had watched a lot of his Ranji Trophy games as well when he was 21, 22, and here he was on the verge of creating a world record, and that I think triggered. I thought this is unfair, and on top of it, there was a library at Infosys where I read a lot of autobiographies of sports persons, not really cricket, but other sports. And then the turning point came when there was a quiz, cricket quiz at Infosys. And I cracked almost every question. And it was a difficult quiz. It was very difficult quiz for a normal person. I know that there is going to be a quiz at the end of this interview, but I mean, back then I was well read. They were tough questions, and I missed a sitter. I answered almost everything, but I missed a sitter where they'd asked which Bangladeshi cricketer, something who made his first class debut in a test match, and I just couldn't recall. But I answered everything. Won captaining Hampshire, and the history of the game. And I think that was the turning point. That's when I realized that maybe I'm not cut for, say, a job at Infi or the IT sector, and maybe I should try and give just try. If it doesn't work, I can always come back to Infosys. So I gave myself a couple of years to see if I'm enjoying, because I was relatively young, and I was at a crossroads. Either I would accept my fate at Infosys, or I had an option of doing something else, and knowing the fact that I can always come back. So I think I burned my bridges. I went ahead and never looked back.
Pretty sure you would have had a good family backing for this place. move from one particular line to a different line, and without maintenance previously as well? Awesome.
I would like to say that. Yeah, because I wouldn't say that there was 100% backing, because I had got a job at the time when there was a recession, 2009, 2010. That was a very, very bad time. People were losing jobs, and you could hear your close family members or people you knew lost their jobs, and it was very difficult. People who had invested in stock market lost money. So I was hearing all such stories, and that's when I had got a job. So I think I would thank Infosys for actually calling us, because we were really worried that if Infosys would call us for a training program, but they did after about 6 months. And it was quite a special feeling to be employed, the first employer. The experience of being in that Mysore campus, where you see people from all across India, that you're exposed to the real world out there. First 6 months you feel, oh, Mysore campus, you're being treated well, but once you're out there in the world, you realize that, life nahi hai laddu. And when you start earning, when you start getting money in your savings account, I think it's a good feeling. But when I decided to give up the job, I actually wanted to do an MBA. So, but I knew that I wouldn't be a good IT employee. I wouldn't be a good MBA graduate. So I think I just wanted some time off, to be quite honest. And that's when I decided to enroll for a diploma in journalism at Xavier's. And my family were a little unsure of my decision at first. But if I had to just take a decision, I had to take a call. If I would have waited, if I would have procrastinated, I wouldn't have taken that call, and I resigned one fine day. And whatever the consequences would have been, I was ready to accept them. So my grandfather supported me quite a lot. Um, my parents did support me, but it took them a few days, to be quite honest.
Truly
But
inspiring.
yeah, I was
Truly
quite
inspiring.
confident. I would do something. I was confident.
Truly inspiring. I mean, this is how you follow your gut, and finally you end up achieving what you wanted to in life. Thank you so much for this. So let's start off with the questions which we have from few of our subscribers, so that you can go ahead with the answers for these. Purval, would you like to start?
Yep. So, Sarang, earlier there were matches in live stadium. Then it started coming to your TV. Then now it's the era where you are seeing live matches in your phone or in OTT platform. So what's the next thing? How things are going up with Star Plus, and what is the next thing which every viewers or as a cricket fan should be thinking about?
Well, what Star has done is that they're streaming the match, no doubt, but there is also that element of interactivity where fans, while they're watching the game, a set of friends can have their own sort of group, and they can comment. They can have they can predict about the game. They can do a lot of things. You can also, there is something like Dream 11, for example, where there is something or the other, because initially it was just one camera showing the match, and it has evolved quite a bit. Now every match, you're worried about the result of the game. You're worried about the Dream 11, where you're playing the game. Is my player doing well? So it has taken a different, I would say this is a paradigm shift, where you're not only worried about the actual game, you're also worried about the players you've chosen. Are they doing well? Are you doing well amongst your friends? Are you doing well amongst the community? Are you good? There's all these sort of little things that are coming up. I don't know. Now during the IPL, there was this fans would just cheer. They were not in the stadium, but there was this. There were fans who were watching the game and cheering from their homes. So, we should be ready for some big changes. I don't know what it will be, but the technological front has advanced so much that I think the game is just not game. It's just a game plus there are many other things happening on the sidelines as well.
It is fascinating you mentioned that. And classic case how the game has evolved or broadcasting has evolved is this platform, Sarang. The fact that we are able to connect with you and talk to you and get some insights is how it moved. Earlier, I mean, 15 years ago, it was a dream for me to talk to somebody at likes of your stature. Right? Watching television was great. But today, getting a opportunity to talk to you and get our viewers or fans who are wanting to do pre-analysis, post-analysis, it is evolving. It's a great point which you're making.
Yeah, I mean, you would write a letter to the editor in order to get his response. I remember I love reading Rohit Brijnath. I don't know if you have read Rohit Brijnath, the way he writes. One of the finest writers, sports writers. So I actually mailed him and got a response. So that for me was a very, very big achievement back in 2012, where he told me, where he shared, his preparation, when he writes a copy, when he prepares to write on the subject, how he approaches it. So all those little things help you, when some legends of the field talk to you, it inspires you, it motivates you to do well. And as you rightly mentioned, today there is a provision for you to just talk to people on Zoom or such platforms. So I think yes, so technological advancement is happening, and I think that's brilliant for cricket fans.
It's an interesting point that you mentioned, the writing part. So let's rewind a bit back towards your career itself. When you were with Sportskeeda and Cricket Country, you used to write a lot of posts about cricketers, about the events to happen. What, according to you, are the key elements while writing a post or writing an article, and how do you go about doing the job?
Well, I think writing is all about conveying a message. First of all, you must know what you want to convey, and a lot of young writers want to impress and not express. So that's one very, very important thing that they should know. If you're telling something to a layman, is that article conveying that particular thing? You have to prepare a lot. You have to understand what you want to write, research, and not. I mean, I just tell something which people may not know. Now, what has happened that people know everything because of Google. Are you able to provide an anecdotal instance? Are you able to provide a stat which is staggering and which adds value to the point that you're going to make? So all these things one has to be mindful. Writing is not just writing 300 words and saying, "Oh, I've written an article." If it's just 300 words which mean nothing, which even a layman talks, so you're not adding any value. And it's very important that your editor or whoever's seniors, they're very, very critical of your writing. You shouldn't be praised. I see a lot of people seeking praise in the first few years and want to hear good things about themselves, but that's not how you learn. You have to do a lot of research. You have to read a lot. I'm saying if you're writing 300 words, you have to read 3000 words maybe. So that's how you improve as a writer. That's how you improve. And if you're writing day in and day out, it's very difficult for you to come up with new things. So just you've got to have a goal. What are you going to achieve by your writing? A lot of people want to write because they want to earn. That's not the right way to approach this field. You have to put in the hard yards. I started a blog, and I was, to be quite honest, I was pathetic when I started. Uh, I received so much of brickbats from my friends. They're like, "What is this? What are you writing?" But the important thing is not to get demotivated. Obviously, you won't be prepared. You won't be a wonderful writer at first. It's a process. You have to give yourself that time and read about the subject. Now, this is my library. This is something which I keep on reading. So that helps me a lot. That helps me a lot. And you've got to be a student. That's very important. If you're criticized, the first thing people do is get defensive, or you start a Twitter war. But you've got to accept that, okay, I may be wrong, I may have done a mistake. Okay, so that I think is very important. The ability to learn, the ability to improve yourself, which is what makes you, a better writer, I feel.
Amazing. That's pretty much true. I mean, to accept your critics is what I think is, the best quality a person can ever have. Only then you can improve in your life. Thank you, Sarang.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Timing of this episode will be fantastic, Sarang, because start of the year, if we post this kind of message to our viewers, it is great. I think that will inspire people. Thank you so much.
Sarang, so next question I have is, now you have seen really, really your viewership, let it be in Hotstar or Star Sports, going out of the roof, really topping up. But what happens when the stadiums open, when COVID is gone, folks start getting into stadiums? So what are your thoughts, and what are your plans, to maintain that kind of viewership globally about cricket?
No, I think cricket today, if you're talking about people actually going to the stadium, that is going to happen eventually. But now what has happened is, since people are not going to the stadiums, it gives a fantastic opportunity for someone to innovate. Like we used to have fan parks, for example, during the IPL. Now we have people watching the game from the comforts of their home. We have people who are commenting while the game is happening on a platform like Hotstar, for example. So there is that inclusiveness which is there for any viewer across the world. So that is very, very important. I understand that they have crowd is very important. It motivates a player. Playing in front of empty stadiums is something which superstars may not be. They are used to seeing people around them cheering for them. But what has happened is the dynamics have changed, and when stadiums open up, cricket is never ever going to be a dull sport. The people are going to be. It's like a religion in India, as they say, as the cliche goes. It's a religion. Everyone has an opinion. Everybody would love to see Virat Kohli live in the stadium, and a lot of the parents used to take children to the cricket stadiums because that's the best way a child can learn the sport, watching the game live from the stadium, because there are so many fine points that happen in a live match from the stadium, which is impossible for the cameras to capture on TV. So those are little things which matter. It's a good experience. Now it's an experience. Like a T20 game is like watching a movie. Good 3 hours. You go there with your family. So the spectators watching a game and how it's packaged, that has changed. I would be interested to see how it's packaged now post COVID, but it's like a package that's being provided, and it has everyone has takeaways. A young aspiring cricketer has a lot of things to learn. A person seeking entertainment, today T20 games, they're so close. Every run matters, so it's thrill a minute. So I think it is offering stuff to all kinds of viewers, to all people, to all categories. So that's why cricket is a sport which is going to do very, very well in India, especially. Globally also it does very well.
Nice. Coming to the technology part of the game, Sarang, how do you think what do you think about the effect of DRS on the game? What are the insights you can provide on DRS? Hotspot, your Snicko meter. How does technology actually work at the back of all this?
So, to be quite honest, technology has helped in decision making. Earlier there were a lot of howlers. When a batsman hit the ball inside edge, it was given LBW. So the first thing is technology has really improved the game. Now, what we are talking about Hotspot, we are talking about the Snicko meter, we are talking about all those things. So These are just the 1%ers. 99%, I think, technology is sorted in cricket, but that's extrapolation. So that's always going to be debatable. Because, see, in tennis, when you use Hawkeye, for example, the ball has already touched the surface. So it's very easy to determine. But cricket is one such game where there is extrapolation. So that's why I think the human element is important. Umpire's call, which is debatable. Because the umpire is in the best position to gauge what's the bounce going to be like, is the ball spinning. So that's why I think there's always going to be this debate. But whatever debate we are going to have, the technology is going to improve the game. We don't want to be in a position where we give leeway to technology and just take out the human element from the game. It's very important that there are umpires in the game. They control the proceedings. It's a tough job. So I think technology has definitely improved the game. And I think what the challenge is going to be moving ahead is technology. Will the technology be available at grassroots level, or say the first class level? Because we don't want to be in a position where bad decision can ruin someone's career. So I think that moving ahead, that's very, very important. And even if you have a few things, a few years back there was no run out camera, and there were like very, very strange decisions when a batsman has reached the ground. I mean the crease, he was given out. So now at least even the games which are not televised, there is a match referee and a third umpire who can give these line decisions, the run out, stumping. So I think at least at the first class level, these things are coming up. So
Sarang, this is great insights into the DRS and use of technology. So that leads me to a question which is pretty popular on the cricketing circuit across the globe. Is MS Dhoni the best user of DRS, or have you seen anybody else predicting and using DRS at the right time in cricketing world?
I think Dhoni certainly is one of the best DRS users because his cricketing acumen, number one, is he's very, very sharp because, number one, he reads the game well. Number two, he understands the bowlers, how they are bowling, because he's very experienced. Now, we tend to blame young wicket keepers or other wicket keepers for not being good when it comes to judging the trajectory or height. You need to understand that it's as you play more, you get to understand these things. So it's a little unfair to expect young wicket keepers or wicket keepers or not regulars to ace this game. And Dhoni, most of his DRS decisions where he has really been very, very good is when the spinners are bowling, and he knows the angles, he knows how each bowler bowls, so he's in a very, very good position to judge. So I think a lot of people call DRS as Dhoni review system.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the reason you seldom see Dhoni going wrong when it comes to DRS, and I think his cricketing acumen, and he's very aware of the situation. He's always looking out for opportunities. So I think that helps. And you have to trust his word. You dare not say anything against it.
Yeah, great. All right,
Pretty
why
much
don't we
true.
jump into some quiz questions now for Sarang?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, pretty sure he's going to get all of them right. But
Okay.
let's go. So the first one, which over did MST walk into bat in the famous World Cup 2011 finals against Sri Lanka?
Oh, that's a tough question, but I think it has to be around 23rd, 23rd over, is it? 24th?
Absolutely. You're pretty much close. It's 22nd over, actually. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Virat
You have to give it to me because 10% is allowed.
Absolutely. It's all yours. It's all yours. You
Yeah.
were so close. Cool.
Yeah.
So the next one, Ravi Shastri's famous commentary line. You just have to fill in the blanks in this. The ball raced to the fence like a
Tracer bullet. Like a tracer bullet.
brilliant. So So, any other favorite community lines of yours?
Well, there are a lot of commentators. Like I grew up watching Richie Beno, Bill Lorry. It's all happening at the MCG. So 2 for 2 and I think now Hindi commentary is also doing quite well. So I don't have any famous lines. I can't recall any lines, but the Tracer Bullet one is quite famous. Then. Tony, like your channel's name, what a player. So that, I think those are iconic lines, which, even though these commentators are no longer with us later on, but I think those lines have been immortalized.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And I think the 2020 famous quote is Danny Morrison asking MS Dhoni in the toss, is this your last game in IPL? And he says, definitely not.
Definitely not, yeah. And even Ian Smith's commentary during the
2019 World Cup.
2019 World Cup, yeah. So that, I think, and remember the name by Ian Bishop. I think those are, why we tend to remember these lines is because the occasion is so big, huge, and we tend to remember, I think, those lines because the games are quite memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these get hatched into our memories forever. I mean, this is what we live for, watching the game, remembering these things. Absolutely. Yeah. The last question, this is an easy one if I'm not wrong. Which is the longest six in IPL history and by who?
I think Albi Morkel hit Pragyan Oza, isn't it? 125 meters.
No, I think this will go to Chris Gale. This will go to Chris Gale for 119 meters during a particular match.
Okay, I think Chepauk 2008. You should check this. Albi Morkel hit Pragyan Oza.
Okay.
125 meter 6 at Chepauk.
Sure.
Probably think Sarang is right.
TSK versus DC.
Yeah, I think you're right. You should be right.
Yeah.
Great.
Because I definitely remember seeing that. Yeah.
Sure thing. So let's go back to a few questions. Last few final questions.
119 meters. Which match was this?
This was against Pune Warriors.
Pune Warriors.
In
where he hit 175.
Oh yeah. Definitely. But I think it's 125 meters. You can.
Sure. We can.
Yeah.
So one question I have, Sarang. So what are basically we are all cricket fans, but now we see other sports also dominating or probably getting more viewership like kabaddi or football or not tennis, but kabaddi and football. So Sony Star Sports is even covering those sports. And is this giving really a tough competition to cricket? And how do we see this sports evolving in future as well?
No, I think these sports are doing well. These sports are doing quite well. Kabaddi has done exceptionally well. Football is doing quite well. I think we need to understand that comparing this to cricket is not really an apt comparison. You have to look at how these sports are doing. Is there a growth? Which definitely is. You see ISL, there are 11 teams right now. The level of football that's being played is top class. Kabaddi, we have seen, the league promises a lot. There is rivalry. There is a good amount of competition between teams. I think cricket has, got a head start in a lot of, aspects. These are relatively newer sports. So we need to give time for these sports. And, I'm sure that these sports are going to do very, very well. There is definitely fan base for these other sports. When it comes to Olympics, for example, PV Sindhu winning silver medal, I think it was watched by a lot of people. The viewership for that match was very, very good. So I think what is happening is that we need heroes for these games. We need people who are consistently performing well for the interest to be sustained. And I think there are a lot of good athletes out there who are winning medals at a world stage, and that is helping uh, the viewership, and that is helping people recognizing their efforts and wanting to watch more of these athletes.
Excellent. Excellent. And I mean, just of time, any last piece of advice for our team or people like us who are fans and trying to connect with celebrities like you, Sarang?
No, first of all, I'm not a celebrity. I'm just a normal person. It would be, I wouldn't really say I'm a celebrity, but I think one piece of advice is be consistent, keep doing good work. There are going to be tough times, but then it's always an opportunity to try something new, to understand what people want, and have this passion going, because whatever you will achieve, not just cricket or not just sport, but anything in life, the first thing that anyone should have is the passion. And I think keep the passion going, keep that flame going, and I think just don't worry about the results too much, because we tend to forget the process. As Dhoni always says, it's about the process. So yeah, he's right. It's always about the process. End result, don't worry much about it. And I'm sure that you're going to scale bigger heights. And my best wishes to all of you.
Thank you very much, Sarang. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
Inspiring note, we come to an end for another episode. Thank you very much, Sarang, again, Akash and Purwal, for keeping this entertained. Sarang, we hope to connect with you again next year, some point in time. Thanks again
Sure.
for joining, and have a wonderful new year, everybody. Take care.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.